Nearly 200 miles out from Halifax, there is an island made of nothing but sand. No rock, no harbour, no trees. It lies low in the fog, exactly where the fishing fleets have to pass. And for 300 years, it has been collecting ships. Sailors gave it a name for what it does. They called it the Graveyard of the Atlantic. It is August 1926, and it is about to collect a fleet. 100 years ago this week, one story ran across front pages from Maine to Arizona. Many fishermen lost in storm, 26 believed drowned. The numbers kept climbing for 3 weeks, and the sea gave back almost nothing to count. This is the August gale of 1926, told through the newspapers that covered it. Start with the island, because in 1926, the papers assumed you already knew it. When the Douglas Daily Dispatch, the paper of a copper town in the Arizona desert, printed the story, it put Sable Island in quotation marks. The Graveyard of the Atlantic. Out in the sea lanes east of Nova Scotia, the island offers no shelter at all. Just a life-saving station, kept there for the survivors of the ships it takes. And among fishermen, it kept a schedule. The worst storms came in the same month, so often that the fleets had a name for them. August gales. The fleet those storms hunted sailed out of Lunenburg, on the south shore of Nova Scotia. Wooden schooners, each carrying more than 20 men, and a deckload of little rowboats called dories. The pride of that fleet in the summer of 1926 was the Sylvia Mosher. The papers called her the High Liner, the queen of the Lunenburg fleet. Her captain was John Mosher, 25 years old and married. The papers keep repeating those two facts, as if they already knew what the story was going to do with them. On the night of the 7th of August, the fleet was riding at anchor on the fishing banks near Sable Island, holds heavy with the summer catch. Then the sea stood up. A hurricane had climbed the Atlantic coast, and its center passed over the anchorage after dark. There was no radio on a fishing schooner in 1926. No warning could reach the fleet, and no message could leave it. Whatever happened out there happened in the dark, and it happened alone. 3 days later, the island's life-saving patrol sighted a wreck on the outer bar. The first word came off the island by radio and went out over the wires so fast it arrived broken. In El Centro, California, the evening paper printed the flash with the home port misspelled, Lunenburg, and the word here itself scrambled into E, H, R, E. The Associated Press version was steadier and colder. 26 fishermen were believed today to have been drowned when the Sylvia Mosher of Lunenburg was pounded to pieces on the outer bar to the north of Sable Island. And then the sentence that hangs over this whole case: no sign of the crew was seen on the wreck. By morning, it was the front page of the Daily Kennebec Journal in Maine. The headline, "Fear Crew of 26 Lost in Wreck of Fishing Schooner. 6 bodies washed ashore on Sable Island." Throughout the day, bystanders searched the beach and scanned the waves without discovering any trace of the missing men. The island had taken a whole crew and handed back 6. In Lunenburg, that first week, hope was a technicality. There was some hope tonight, the paper reported, that some of the men would be able to save themselves. They might be making their way toward the mainland, or else they might have been picked up by some ship not equipped with wireless and therefore not able to report. Not equipped with wireless, every silent ship on that ocean was a place where your husband might still be standing. That same week, the papers carried another notice. A meteoric shower is scheduled for tonight. The Perseids. The display the old accounts called the Tears of St. Lawrence, falling over the beach while the islanders walked it, looking for men. A week after the storm, the arithmetic doubled. 47 fishermen were missing tonight, the most disastrous blow in loss of lives and ships in recent history. While government searchers abandoned hope for the crew of the Sylvia Mosher, grave fears were expressed for the first time for the La Havre schooner Sadie Nickel and her crew of 22. She was long overdue. She had last been seen near the Sylvia Mosher off Sable Island before the storm. 2 ships anchored within sight of each other. One was found on the graveyard's doorstep. The other had simply ceased to exist. The government steamer Lady Laurier came back through seas strewn with wreckage, battered dories from the Sylvia Mosher and from the Mary Ruth, a craft that barely escaped the clutches of the Sable Island sand. the steamer's captain, Sutherland, gave the papers the sentence that ended the search. There is practically no hope that any of the crew are alive. It would have been impossible for any of the men to have lived through it. The Springfield Republican put the exception in its subhead. Schooner captain's wife refuses to believe husband dead. Work on their new home overlooking Lunenburg harbor, the paper reported, was pushed forward today in her confidence of his safe return. The paper never records her name, only the house. And then the island began sending things back. 6 more dories have been washed ashore on Sable Island. The Kennebec Journal reported on August the 23rd. Dories, smashed gear and other wreckage, the discovery from day to day. Each piece delivered to the beach by the same water that had kept the men. Then a marine agent named Harvey tried to trace one dory that came ashore marked with a name. Julia. The name has no significance here, he admitted. No missing vessel carried a Julia. The best guess was some Gloucester boat, far from home. The island had taken so much that month, it was now returning pieces from fleets nobody here was even counting. Confirmation, when it finally came on August the 26th, was almost unbearably small. The patrol cruiser Arlew went out to the island, and Captain Parks, part owner of the Sadie Nickel, went with her. He was able to identify the vessel's water tank and a flour barrel, which had drifted ashore as coming from the Nickel. Fishing schooner and entire crew, 22, believed lost, said the front page. That is the entire evidence for the deaths of 22 men. A tank and a barrel. No wreck was ever sighted. The Sadie Nickel went into the graveyard of the Atlantic. And unlike her sister, she never even reached the beach. Watch how the story ends, because the ending is the quietest part. 5 days after the storm, in the Bismarck Tribune of North Dakota, the missing crew was already just 2 sentences, wedged between the wheat crop and a court notice. By September, the loss of the Sadie Nickel ran as a foreign brief, buried deep in a digest page. In Lunenburg and La Have, the counting was done house by house. Streets where the men of a family had sailed together, and none came back. And the fishermen who were left went out again, same sails, same banks, still no radios. 1 year later, in August of 1927, the gale returned. Same month, same island. 4 more schooners, but that is another case file. So leave with the question the fleet never asked out loud. They knew the island, they knew the month, and they sailed into it anyway. Courage, or the only choice they had. The comments are open. This has been the Century Desk. Every week we open the newspapers from exactly 100 years ago. One last thing from the same paper that counted the dories. A boxed bulletin, film star still near death, word given at midnight. The most famous man on earth was dying in a New York hospital room, and nobody could quite believe it. That case file opens in 2 weeks, on the 23rd of August. 100 years to the day. Subscribe so you are at the desk when it does.